Hello and welcome to another episode of Words with Myself.
Many of us have experienced some form of bullying in our lives, whether that be from people in school, our family, people we thought were friends, or even just random people that we don't really have a relationship with. It comes in many different ways and from many different sources. It can be both physical acts of violence and also non-physical acts of violence. It can be mental manipulation or abuse. It can be being threatened or extorted or blackmailed. And it typically produces two different kinds of victim. A bully is often somebody who was bullied themselves, and they feel like the right thing to do is, if the world hurts me, I'm going to hurt the world back. Or the only way for me to be safe is to be domineering and aggressive, to make victims of everyone else so they don't make victims of me. It's that old adage of hurt people hurt people. And that tends to be the case. People who have experienced a high amount of trauma or were bullied during their childhood, it creates this fight and this need to attack what is around us so that the bully can remain safe. It's kill before you get killed mentality. And on the other side of this, we have the avoidant, the person who hides away, who tries to shelter themselves and avoid conflict, rather than trying to remain safe by getting there first and being the aggressor. Instead, they try to appease the aggressors, either by being overly nice and giving, or by hiding away and sheltering themselves. The intrinsic desire is the same. Both parties want to feel safe and protected. One group of people take this into their own hands and say, I'm going to be the aggressor, and this is how I remain protected and safe. And the other party also wants to be protected and safe. And it does this through being overly nice, avoiding conflict and controversy, avoiding argument or confrontation, giving others what they want, even when it might not be the best thing for you. When you take this stance, you tend to concede yourself as a priority and prioritize everyone else's needs and what everyone else wants. And this is another way of protecting ourselves. It often stems from explosive environments where you're around something that was highly reactive. And if you didn't do what they wanted or demanded, you would receive abuse or neglect. And that's when you step into that peacekeeper role, where you try to appease everyone and make everyone happy so that it isn't angry or dangerous around you, so long as you do everything for everyone at the expense of yourself. Unfortunately, many people get stuck in this mode, unable to escape, and that constant need to be nice or good or perfect eventually takes an insidious hold, and it makes people very resentful. Resentful that they have to do everything for everyone, resentful that they have to adopt this role, and eventually most people learn, well, rather than doing everything for everyone, I'll just limit the amount of people in my life, and that way I don't have as many people that I have to look after and play this role for, which is when people become disconnected, because they don't want to take on more relationships in their life, because that's basically more mouths to feed. Yet they yearn for actual true connection, where somebody can actually give something to them, because they're so drained from pouring from their cup that they have this desperate need to gain. But unfortunately, if the only way you know to make relationships or to attract people into your life is to do things for them, it just perpetuates the problem. You then have to either accept the new burden or start placing boundaries on a relationship where previously there was none. And that can cause people to feel like you've taken something away from them, that you've changed and you're not who you once were, when really you've just grown tired of giving so much and not getting much in return. But to make matters worse, it also renders people unable to ask for what they need, ask for help, ask for assistance, ask for love, because they feel like it's their job to do everything for everyone else. And they typically have had to rely on themselves as a source of love, of a source of help. So they become hyper independent and don't want to ask for help, don't want to trust others. That's what happens when you've been let down or neglected or abused. And you can fall into this victim mentality where you feel like life is happening to you and you're being punished for something, and that everything is unfair, and that life is unfair, people are unfair, and the whole game's a fix, and you're just a losing character. And once you adopt that position, it becomes very hard to get out of it, because the only way to really change is to take 100% accountability. And if you feel like you're a victim, it can be very hard to see your own doing in this, because you can perceive a situation to be completely unfair and unjustified. And sometimes it is. But how you respond to that, how you react to that situation, and how you take accountability for preventing it from happening again is what will lift you out of that. For instance, if you believe that the world is unjust and unfair and has been incredibly unkind and abusive towards you, it can be hard to see and accept the times where actually we may have also been abusive, also been manipulative, also been a bully. But the loneliness, the resentment, the anger, it can all do terrible things to us. And it can actually cause us to inflict the same kinds of pain, even if we don't mean it to, onto other people. We can burden other people in the way we feel burdened. You'll see this in codependent relationships, where somebody has been neglected and they meet someone who is loving and affectionate towards them. Because that person was so starved of that love and affection, they can inadvertently end up draining it from the other person by demanding their full attention, their 24/7 presence, by being jealous or overprotective. All these ways that stored up resentment becomes manifested. Because it doesn't go anywhere. Just because you opt to be the nice person and not the bully aggressor, that doesn't mean those feelings of wanting to be powerful, wanting things to go your way, wanting to not be the victim of the situation, that doesn't go anywhere. It just becomes something that gets stuffed down and becomes almost more poisonous. I think the bullies, the aggressors, actually have a easier time to heal through their trauma, even though they have to confront guilt and shame about what they've done and who they've hurt. At least they've been manifesting the toxicity inside of them. All of the hurt, all of the pain has been coming out rather than staying inside and brewing. Whereas when you spend time as the nice person who has no boundaries and is constantly trying to appease people, it starts something much more insidious, much more malevolent, because that person then becomes manipulative. They can't get their way by force, so they have to use manipulation to get it. Or if they never choose to get what they want, they become very bitter and angry. But make no mistake, the bully aggressor and the nice victim are both harmful, are both toxic, are both shadow aspects of ourselves. And this doesn't mean that just being a good person, being pleasant, or being friendly is a bad thing at all. But when you're acting out of fear, when you're doing things not because you want to do them, but because you feel like you need to do them in order to get what you want, which is safety, protection, love, affection, when you're doing things in order to manipulate people, and you may not see it as manipulation because you think, well, I'm being nice, I'm doing things for others, but really you're only doing that because you want something back from them. And this could just be you want them to not harm you, or it could be that you want them to like you, you want them to love you, you want their affection. And in order to get, you withdraw all your boundaries, you do things that you don't want to do, you compromise your own needs and wants, and you hope that all of this sacrifice will make you worthy of love. But when you're acting out of fear, when you're acting out of lack and need, it creates someone who thinks they're nice, thinks they're doing nice things, but is not being nice, especially to themselves. They're putting themselves last. They're neglecting their own needs. They're letting people step all over their boundaries and tolerating things that they find hurtful or mean. And if this was anyone else, if you were putting someone else through the situation that you might be putting yourself through, you would see that as a horrible person, as somebody who has no kindness, no compassion, somebody who doesn't care. And that's not a nice person. Just because you're doing it to yourself, that doesn't make you exonerated of the harm that you are doing to someone. You are still doing that harm, you are just doing it to yourself. And that's not okay. It's not okay to bully yourself. It's not okay to be mean to yourself. It's not okay to harm yourself. And the fact that you're nice to everyone except yourself doesn't make you not a bully. That actually makes you the most egregious kind of bully. Somebody who targets someone. That someone just so happens to be yourself, which doesn't make it any better. And whether you view yourself as the aggressor or the victim, in truth, you're both. There's going to be times where you have harmed others, and there's going to be times where others have harmed you. You are both the predator and the prey. And to feel like you're not, to hold on to one side like, I'm always the predator, I'm always the prey, just puts you at one of these extremes. You are living out of harmony and balance. And that doesn't mean that you need to go out there and do horrible things and be mean to people or bully people in order to counteract being nice. But it is to say that you need to uphold yourself as a sovereign and do what you want to do. To do things because you want to do them, not because you feel like you need to do them. That's not being a nice person, that's being a good person. But in order to be a good person, you must be able to stand up for what's right. You must be able to handle conflict. You must be able to preserve yours and others' safety, protect others, look after other people, to not allow people to neglect or bully or punish other people. To do what is right is hard. To be good is difficult. It takes real strength, real courage, real bravery to do that. Any person can be nice, and any person can be horrible, but only the strong can be good. Thank you for listening.